Hi folks, Telecom Guide 10 here. I wanted to do a quick follow-up video. I recently did a video of my 182 key system setup in my garage using Ceres Corporation's solid-state 182 board. I wanted to cover the equipment that's installed in my house in terms of telephones as well as the network equipment. What you're looking at is my third bedroom closet, which I've turned into a comms closet. On the left, this gray box here is a 551C, as in Charlie, Western Electric 182 key system. And in just a minute I'll pull the cover off and we can take a look at that, and I'll explain what these blocks are and everything. On the right is a bit of a contrast in terms of technology. This is an ADTRAN Total Access 924E, and it is a it performs a variety of different functions. It's designed for ISPs and telcos to provide IP-based telephony services. It's basically a gateway device. Those of you who know a few things about voice over IP will know what I mean when I say it's an ATA or an analog telephone adapter, but it does a lot of other things. It has 4 T1 ports on it, 2 of which can do PRI, which is real nice. It has a serial port, battery backup, external ground, regular C13 power supply, 2 Ethernet ports, and this one, because it's the 924, is a 24 port FXS, which means foreign exchange station, which means you can plug in analog phones. And the way I have it set up, it is currently registering to my asterisk PBX to give me four lines of just regular dial tone for the 182 system here. What you see up top there, that is an Aruba Instant AP 225 series, but I'll try to stick to, I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to try to stick to the phone related stuff here first. So let me get this out of the way. I've been meaning to mount this on the ceiling, I just haven't done it. So we'll pull this cover off here carefully, one-handed. And just to reiterate, this is the 551C KSU. There's a couple different versions. There's the A, the B, and the C. This is the C. It has the plastic cover. The B is a metal box and it kind of folds into itself. I have 4 400H series KTUs. Each one of these provides some of the logic functions for each actual physical phone line. The way I wired this is, actually before I get ahead of myself here, so it's just got a regular 24 volt, 10 volt, 18 volt. It's got a multi-tap power supply for the different functions. These systems are really very simple. That's why I appreciate them so much. This is a 118A frequency generator. Its whole purpose is it's basically a glorified transformer, and all it does is ring bells and phones. That's all it does. It's got 2 outputs, which you see here, which go to the connections on the board for RG and RB, and then on here on the left is some cross connect wire for the 4 phone lines that I have running to these systems. You've got blue and white for line 1, blue orange for line 2. I'm sorry, blue white and white orange, white green, and then the first pair was a 3-pair cross connect wire, so I just used a single pair, yellow and blue, for the 4th line. So the way this works is the ADTRAN provides dial tone. So you've got this 25 pair cable here, this pre-terminated Amphenol cable that just runs around. And the only reason I did that is because of the length that it was. At the time that I set this up, I did not have the Amphenol termination tool or the connectors to make custom length cables, so I had to make do with what I had, and I haven't bothered to change it out because it's fine. And then conveniently, this block has an Amphenol connector on it, and it's pre-terminated, which is really nice. So what I did was I brought the dial tone in over on the left here, added some bridge clips, as these clips are actually, they're separated the way these blocks work. So the 2 rows are not electrically connected, so you just add bridge clips to connect them. And then on the right here is where the dial tone comes out. This runs behind the block, comes out around the mushroom, and then it goes neatly into the KSU up here. So these are all the connections for the 4 lines. I did not terminate any of the violet or a lot of the yellow pairs. They're just not needed, and because of the types of phones that I use, The 10 button phones and the 5 button phones tend to have issues because of the violet pairs. They're reused for additional lines on the larger phones. So if the phones coexist on the same wiring, it can tend to cause issues and shorts and strange behavior. So I always isolate the violets because I don't have any intention of using 10 phone lines. So go ahead and move on. So the way I did this is I didn't really want to have a bunch of cables running into this system. I wanted to be able to clearly see everything if I needed to troubleshoot. So I just terminated one cable here and ran that as an output to this block right up here, and it's terminated on the left. And then I brought 2 of the station cables in from the rest of the house to the living room and my bedroom. Those come in on the left here. And then what I did was, to allow me to continue adding phones and station cable, I added some cross connect wire on this second row of pins here under the bridge clips, and that comes down here to the input on the left side of this block. And then the next phone, which is actually in this room, is terminated on this second row. So that's how that works. And then if I want to add more stations, I can add some bridge clips, and I've got 2 more places, but I've got quite a few phones already. I'll try to pick up the pace here. I know I'm doing a lot of talking and not a lot of demonstrating, and I know a lot of people don't like that, but I also don't want to skip over important details. So I'll just do a quick rundown. Since I'm in here, I'll do a quick rundown of the home network setup. Pardon the stuff up top here. It's spare line cards, cross connect wire, etc. So this is my home network rack. This is a Triplite 6U rack. On the bottom we have an APC Schneider Electric, I believe it's the 7902, just regular 515, regular 515 wall outlets on the back. I wanted it because it's metered and switched, and it can tell me how much power each device is using. Above that we've got a shelf with my 1 RU shelf with my Aris cable modem provided by the ISP, which I'm going to be switching out for that one here pretty soon. And then we have my Fortinet FortiGate 60 PoE 60, I'm sorry, yeah, 60D I believe, if I remember correctly. That provides my my routing, DHCP, all those network functions, firewall, port forwarding, all that stuff. And then we have my core network switch here. This is a Cisco 3560G series PoE 48. It's technically a 52 port switch because it does have 4 SFP ports here on the right. And then we've got my 48 PoE ports of Ethernet here. Each one of these colors represents a different room in the house. This is still a work in progress, but the first set here goes to the living room. So that's 4 ports of Ethernet to the living room, to the smart TV, the Xbox, the gaming PC, whatever I might be using there. And then this next one is for this room that we're in right now, goes to the wall behind me. And then these 3 go to the second bedroom, which is on the other side of this wall. Eventually I plan to add 4 more in my master bedroom, and potentially 4 more in the dining room area. I want to eventually have this pretty much house wired for every room. Oh, before I forget, I'll explain these 2 fiber cables. Currently I intended to have this run to the master bedroom, and then this one was going to go to the second bedroom. Eventually I want to have 10 gigabit Ethernet capabilities. This switch is not capable of that, but you see I went ahead and bought the OM3 multi-mode fiber. The only active fiber on here is number 51 here, and this goes to the garage. So this goes underneath the crawl space all the way out the house, out the crawl space entrance, and goes up the side of the house and then across a small cable stay into the garage, and then that feeds into the IDF switch in the garage and provides Ethernet and voice over IP capabilities to my 182 system in the garage that I've demonstrated. There's also an APC battery backup right there that'll run everything probably about 20 or 30 minutes. Let's see, it says, yeah, about 15 minutes. That's what it says it'll run. So, all right, so moving on. I'm going to close this up here, and I'm going to put the AP back in here. So we'll close this up. So in this room, as you probably saw at the beginning, this is a Western Electric 2830 10-button phone. I only have 4 lines wired because the system is only capable of 4 lines. So I'll show you. So you get, line 4, line 3, line 2, and line 1. So I will do a demonstration with ringing the phones and all that, don't worry. This phone's a little bit unique because it's got the recall button. So if you're in a busy office where the lines are constantly busy and you don't want to lose your phone call, if you mess up dialing, you can just hit recall, and it keeps the line active. So everyone else sees the line is lit and in use, but you can still, redial your call. So I've got some spare line cards. This is sort of a project room right now. I'm clearing it out as I'm going to be using it for another purpose. I've got another 551C there that I've got to clean up. And there's a 30-button ITT phone that needs some work. And then there's a Stromberg Carlson 9-line KSU, if I remember correctly, and there's 2 of those here. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. So we'll move on from this room, go down the hall, and we'll go into the living room here. This is where I spend a lot of my time. This is a very nice green Western Electric 2565. I got this phone on eBay, which is where most of my phones come from. This one's actually embossed on the faceplate with the Bell logo. This one, same 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's no 5th line. I may add that second 551C at some point to add additional lines, or I might add a special circuit. So I actually we'll call one of the other lines here just so you guys can hear the phone ring. So we'll do so we can answer that. I'll place that on hold. So now both those lines are on hold. So now we can go to the other room. Actually, you know what? I'll show my kitchen phone before I forget. I'm using this dining room area as kind of a staging area. I've got quite a few phones. I got a recently pretty large buy. So this is a, you guys should be familiar, this is another 2851 that I have. The same line appearances, so we can pick up line 1 and, talk to that person. So we'll hang up and clear that off. But nothing too special, just a typical 2851 there with the single bell in it. I guess I'll show you guys what this one sounds like. There you go, there's the ringer on that. And we'll move on back to the other set. I've got this rotary 851 that I plan to install at some point. I haven't decided where that one's going to go yet. So we'll come back in here and we'll do a quick test one. I do not recall if the ringer is connected on this phone, so it may or may not ring. Yep, there you go, a little single gong ringer. Oh, and actually, if you listen carefully, let me answer that before I drive myself nuts here. So if you notice, you can hear the interrupter motor running. And also, each line has a status lamp on the card, as well as on the KSU. So if you're a technician working in a basement, 300 feet where the nearest phone is, you can see if the line's in use before you start pulling stuff out to work on it. So you can see this is line 1, line 2, line 3, and line 4. So we'll hang that up here. Alright, so we'll move on to the last phone, which is in my bedroom on the nightstand here. Alright, this one's cool because it came from a TV station in Washington State, not far from where I was stationed when I was in the Navy. This one has a Plantronics headset adjunct. So I've got a 52A operator headset. If you've seen the movie Apollo 11, I think it's Apollo 11 or Apollo 13, you might recognize this as the headset that a lot of the NASA engineers in Mission Control are wearing. It's the same type of headset. It's got the carbon granule microphone. It's basically the same as a regular type G handset, but just in a headset form that sits in your head. So cool thing about that is if I select a line here, flip this switch, I can completely dial without touching this. It completely takes the handset out, so there's no dial tone on the handset. Now this one also has the recall button. We'll do a quick ringing test on this phone, and then we will call this a day. So there you go, similar ringer to the others. And then before I forget, I'll do a very, very brief covering of the rest of the network setup. There's really not much else. You saw the core network. This is the AP for the center of the house. Eventually it's going to get either mounted in the hallway or mounted up in the ceiling up here. It'll depend on how accommodating the attic is in being able to run cable. And then the other access point, besides the one that's in the garage on the ceiling, is right over here by the gaming PC underneath my TV. These are Aruba IAP instant APs. They're the 225s. They do 2x2 multiple in, multiple out, 802.11 AC. So I have gigabit down here at the house and about 50 megabits up on my coax cable internet. I usually get about 250, 300 megabits down on wireless. The spectrum is pretty clear around here, so it's nice. I'm able to get the full bandwidth on wireless. And one last thing I'll cover that you guys might appreciate is this General Electric Telecron clock. I got this one on eBay. One day I was sitting here on the couch and I thought to myself, I really need to get a clock for in here. And I remembered in middle school in my language arts class, my language arts teacher, we were in the old part of the school that had been built in the 1960s. And they had one of these exact clocks with the green smooth second hand. And for some reason I just always remembered and always wanted that clock. And now 15 years later I bought one for myself, so now it's got in my living room. Anyways, I know that was a lot of talking. I know that's probably going to annoy some of you, but those of you that have stuck around, I do appreciate it. If you have anything that you would like to see, or if anything questions you want to ask, I'm always happy to talk about this stuff. Telephones, IT, networking, all that stuff is a huge passion of mine. It's what I do for a living and it's what I do for fun. So if there's something that you're interested in seeing or learning about, by all means, please post a constructive comment and I will be happy to respond and talk about it. Thanks very much.